Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today I'm going to be ranking all the legends in Apex Legends Season 8, including Fuse. This is for pub matches and is by my opinion and playstyle, which is pretty aggressive. Comment down below your own tier list. I'm interested to see all of your opinions. Oh, and also, don't hate me if I rank your main lower than you would have on this list. It's just my thoughts. Now, I hate to have to put her in the bottom of C tier because she can be tons of fun and is one of the most unique legends with her amp walls and miniguns. And of course, this is Rampart. The reason why she is at the bottom of the list is because she is the most situational legend. One of the things that makes a solid legend is their flexibility and how they handle different situations. Rampart is the best legend in the game when it comes to you holding a high ground at the end game and you're fully set up with amp walls and miniguns. I really think she's in need of a buff or rework to make her a A or B tier legend. I often find her walls making fights harder for me when I'm playing her in close range or in building fights because you have to be careful of what side of the wall you're on. This is why I have her at the bottom of the list, as she is very situational, and honestly it is hard to put other legends behind her because of this. Moving on to the next legend, we got Crypto. Now, I think Crypto can be a good legend at times, but I feel like his abilities just aren't strong enough in fights. Why I think this is because his drone scans can easily be outmatched by Bloodhound, as it only takes a second for Bloodhound, as it can take anywhere from 5 to 15 seconds to get your drone in a good spot for scans with Crypto. His ultimate ability also feels a bit useless as well because, in my opinion, 50 damage in shields with an EMP is just easier and safer to do with a gun, as you don't need to find a safe place to drone and you aren't splitting up from your team. If you're coordinated well with your team, you can do pretty strong pushes with WRAITH and REVENANT ults along with Crypto's EMP. He is also amazing for respawning your teammates, as you can do it all through your drone safely and pick up their banners and instantly respawn them at a beacon. So overall, I think he's a good legend for passive players, but not so good for aggressive players and higher tier lobbies. Coming in next is Loba. Now, Loba is a very good team legend, as her ultimate will pretty much have your team fully looted and ready to fight. Other than that, her passive is very underwhelming, as it feels like her passive was made to steal loot from teammates, which, don't get me wrong, that is pretty fun. Her tactical ability also needs a buff, as it is a worse version of WRAITH's and takes longer to deploy and slows down your sensitivity and movement, and makes you an easy target for 2 to 4 seconds, which is enough for pretty much any gun to kill you. I just feel like overall she's very unbalanced legend, and is probably one of the worst movement legends, as you're just an easy target. She's also just easily outmatched by Horizon, WRAITH, and pretty much any other movement legend. Coming in at top of C tier is Wattson. Wattson is a very conflicted legend, as there's lots of different opinions on how good she is. Some people right now will be fuming, and it's okay, I understand. The reason why I have her so low in the list is because she is a more passive legend, and that you need people to play into your hands to have your abilities work best. Her ultimate ability is pretty strong, especially in ranked, but this is what I mean when I say they need to play into your hands because her ultimate isn't mobile. Her fences seem a bit underwhelming as well, as they're easy to break, and even if they are well placed, it only deals 10 damage and slightly slows you. Overall, as I've said, I think if she is played passively and played well, she can be very effective, but otherwise, I think she is just very situational and underwhelming. And it's just better to go as Caustic, as his abilities are more flexible and as they can be used passively and aggressively. Next up is Mirage. He is a legend who has seen many buffs in his time in Apex Legends, and I think he has gotten to a point where he is pretty balanced in the meta. Mirage's abilities are very balanced, unlike Loba and some other legends I mentioned earlier in the video, as all of his abilities aren't too strong but are still handy and good to use in a fight. Mirage is probably one of the most fun legends in the game, as he's a goofy character and has the ability to make people feel like a bot when you make them shoot your decoy. He is also a pretty flexible legend, as he is good in many situations, as his decoys can be used as a distraction, cover, and as recon. Although what I've said makes him sound really good, and don't get me wrong, he is good, there are just better and more effective legends in the game who are stronger and can control fights better. Coming in at the middle of B is Bangalore. Bangalore has never really seen any major buffs or nerfs, as she's always been in the middle of the meta and has never really excelled or been in a spot where she is underpowered. She has very solid abilities with her smoke, which makes her great for cover and easy rotations late game, as well as her ultimate, which is amazing for repositioning your enemies and forcing them to go where you want. It's also great for end game, as it will cover all of the end ring. Her passive goes really nicely with her kit, as it helps you move from cover to cover along with your smokes. Although she is really balanced, she has a huge counter, and this is Bloodhound. Bloodhound's ultimate, tactical, and passive ability make Bangalore completely useless, as you can see straight through her smoke, while Bangalore is partially blinded by smoke. Apart from this huge counter to her kit, she is a very viable legend and can be very powerful and controlling in the late game. This is why she is a mid-tier legend. Coming in next is our matey Fuse. I hate to have to put Fuse low on the list, as he is a new legend in the game, and I feel like lots of new legends added to the game have been very underpowered, like Rampart, Loba, Crypto, etc. Fuse is tons of fun, as he's very explosive and exciting with his abilities and voice lines. Fuse can really take over a fight with his abilities, but this is only if they are used well. His ultimate can trap a player or even a whole team out in the open and turn them into an easy target, but this can easily be countered by any movement legend like WRAITH, Horizon, Path, and a couple other legends. His passive ability is OP endgame, as you can fill the ring with nades, along with your tactical, and completely take over the match. His tactical is really strong and can be used when pushing fights, blocking off areas temporarily, and using it as a distraction while you rotate. Overall, Fuse can be pretty strong, but is often misplayed, so this is why he's at B tier. This is probably going to make some people cry when I say that the friendliest, kindest, and most loved robot in the game is coming in at the top of B. And of course, this is Pathfinder. Pathfinder has received some huge nerfs in the last couple seasons, but he has been buffed back into place. You might be wondering, why is he so low in the list if he's back to his S tier abilities? This is because OCTANE, with his huge buffs, has overtaken him as the best movement / speed legend. OCTANE can run further and faster than Pathfinder with their tacticals. His ultimate ability is also better because he can go further horizontally and vertically in most situations, as well as you're not a seeing target because you can double drum and strafe more. This has unfortunately been the downfall of Pathfinder, as he isn't really worth picking over OCTANE and Horizon unless you prefer his grapples over stims. Now coming in next is our favourite speedy boy, OCTANE. OCTANE has received some huge buffs to his jump pad, which has made him a very viable and handy legend, not just to play, but for his team as well. He can now reach high places with his jump pad that makes him the second best vertical movement legend. OCTANE is now pretty strong in ranked as well because he can get the whole team moving. Overall, OCTANE is super fun to play in pubs, but he's also strong enough for ranked. This is why he deserves to be an A tier. Coming in next is Revenant. Revenant is probably the best at third partying, as he can use his death totem and full send to fight. If 3 people enter the death totem, it is the equivalent of being pushed by a 4-man squad. Revenant's silencer is amazing because it will disable all of the abilities of the person it hits. It is also great for area control, as you can block off a door or area with it for 10 seconds. He goes well in many team comps like OCTANE Revenant, WRAITH Revenant. Revenant is in a really solid place right now, and I definitely think he is worthy of a tier A spot. Coming in next is the stinky boy Caustic. Caustic has received some pretty minor nerfs in the Caustic event, but honestly I don't think this changes too much, as he's still a really strong and flexible legend. One of the things that makes Caustic so strong is his flexibility, and he has great defensive and aggressive abilities. His gas can be used to defensively hold buildings, block off checkpoints, block doors, reposition enemies. His gas can also be used aggressively to push fights, trap enemies in it so they are slowed and an easy target, to control and reposition enemies, and to provide cover in fights. The only thing that stops Caustic from being any better is his hitbox size and the lack of movement-based abilities. Although as a Caustic main, I'd love him to have better movement and a better hitbox. It is the thing that keeps him balanced. Overall, he's a pretty strong, flexible legend who deserves a spot in A tier. Coming in at the top of A is Lifeline. Lifeline's passive ability is probably the or one of the best abilities in the game because you can safely revive teammates with his shield. You can also use the shield as a source of cover and dodge and weave in and around it. I often find myself dying to Lifeline teams as they can just constantly revive and it's just a pain in the ass. Her ultimate ability is good early game to get a free purple armor, heals and attachments. Her tactical is a great heal saver and keeps you from needing to waste heals when you take a little bit of zone damage. Overall, she's a pretty strong team legend, but her kit is heavily carried by a passive which pretty much single-handedly put her in this spot on the list. Now moving on to what we have all been waiting for, the S tier. Coming in at the bottom of S tier is WRAITH. WRAITH is a really solid legend and is strong in many team comps as well as ranked. She's received a couple nerfs to her hitbox, making it bigger, which really affected how good people think she is. But honestly, I think she is still pretty strong and has lots of potential. She is a great team legend overall, as her portal is great for safe rotations and Revenant push combos. Overall, she is still a very viable legend and is tons of fun to play. Coming in next is the thick boy Gibby. Gibraltar is amazing for all parts of the game, and especially end ring, as you can put down a bubble and an ultimate and force your enemies to take damage, run into the ring, or push your bubble for cover. A good Gibraltar will also learn how to master dodging and weaving in and around the dome shield when fighting enemies. With the recent Caustic Town Take Over, Gibraltar has seen some nerfs to his gun shield with a bleed through effect. An example of this, for people who don't know, is if he is shot by a Kraber, it will do the full damage amount it normally would, but the gun shield will just take some of it. So yeah, unfortunately we won't be seeing Gibby tanking Kraber bullets anymore. Overall, Gibraltar is a pretty strong legend, and literally in every pro squad you'll see a Gibraltar. That is how good he is. Now moving on is Bloodhound. Bloodhound is an absolute beast when it comes down to tracking, as he can follow footprints, scan and clear out areas with his tactical, and go full sicko mode with his ultimate, making everyone glow red. Bloodhound is definitely a must-have in any ranked team comp, as he is just so good. He's also a ton of fun to play, as everyone you scan just seems like a sitting duck. Overall, I think Bloodhound is absolutely insane for pubs and ranked, as he is also just tons of fun to play. This is why he is the second best legend in the game. You might have already guessed, but coming in at number 1 is Horizon. Horizon was a new addition in Season 7, and she has completely changed the meta of the game, as now you can expect characters to be coming at you from any which direction. Her tactical is super handy for easily taking high ground, but it is insane to use in fights, as you can float to the top of the gravity lift and strafe back and forth, and you'll pretty much be impossible to hit. Her passive makes her seem so smooth and nice to play, as you can B-hop off tall structures and keep sliding. Last but definitely not least is her ultimate. Her ult is super strong in fights, as it is a huge distraction that makes the enemies easy kills. She is also insane with the Caustic Fuse combo on her team, as you can throw all your ults at them and they will stand no chance. Overall, she is really strong and definitely deserves the number 1 spot. Remember to comment your tier list down below, and I will see you guys in the next one. And if you guys enjoyed that video, make sure to check out these ones.